So I'm going to start with just playing a song here today, and we'll do a fun shop. We call them fun shops here, not workshops. So this will be a fun shop on the easy, Estey, and small-sized instruments. So here's a song to get us started, and I'm going to play with a guitarist. Joe might have talked a little bit about that yesterday. So here's a Latin guitar. So I've used a couple things I'll talk about today, and probably a few things that Joe talked about in his class yesterday. But I just want to start out here, just in case. Does anybody have any questions about anything Joe might have talked about yesterday? Let's see. I don't see any so far, so I'll move on with my own stuff. And if anything comes up, feel free throughout the class. You can raise your hand. Hopefully you know how to do that at this point. If not, there's a participants button on the bottom. Or if you're on an iPad, it's just 3 dots somewhere on your screen. If you touch that, it gives you more options and one of them should be raise your hand. So if any questions, let me know. Or throughout, if I ask you a question, you're welcome to just unmute yourself and speak. Okie dokie. So here we go. What I want to talk about today is kind of a concept-based class on this section right here. So these blue buttons on the left side, they look like this. Let me get a picture here. Depending on your instrument, and I think Joe talked about this a little bit yesterday, they say different words. Some of them have the older instruments might say different things like big band or soft and easy and things like that. And then we have instruments like this that say standards and Broadway traditional. So what I'm going to talk about is these buttons over here and kind of how they work and how to use them a little bit. Joe talked a little bit about how they're orchestrated a little, so I'm going to talk more about how to pick one, because we get that question a lot. Which rhythm do I use? I'm not sure, because it depends on what song you're playing. So to start out, I just want to make sure you all know this is another concept thing. What these instruments are. You notice we don't say organ all the time. What are some other words we call these? Any bright ideas? You can unmute yourself.
Orchestra.
What's that?
Virtual orchestra?
Virtual orchestra. That is correct. You get a prize. But yeah, sometimes I just call them instruments or virtual orchestras because it's not just an organ, right? It does a lot more than just the organ sound, You've got trumpets and saxophones and pianos. And on your left hand, this is the fun part, these blue buttons over here. Your role in this virtual orchestra is what? Does anybody know what your role is, what you're called as the player? Oh, I see somebody talking. Angela?
Conductor.
Danger.
Conductor. Ding, 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 ding. Conductor. You're the conductor. Or band leader. And what does a band leader do? He or she hires an orchestra to play with. So rather than just stand there, one guy at the front of a stage playing trumpets and trombones and pianos all by himself, we have our band leader hiring an orchestra. So that's what I have with that left hand here. And the easiest way, if you want to play a song and you know what style of music it is, or what we like to call genre of music, what genre of music it is, like if you're going to play something like Johnny Cash, where do you think you might start?
Country.
Country. Thank you, Angela. That is country music. So if you want to play something maybe more like Frank Sinatra song, he's probably one of the big standards. So if I want to do something like that, I'll just touch standards. And here's what I get. I'll just show you a quick example. All I did was I touched standards and pretend, oops, wrong camera. That's my yucky one that I don't want to use. I got all these cameras here. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch, unlock that. I'm going to touch standards, and that's all I touch. Give them an introduction. Tell my orchestra right when I do my first chord, I'm telling them, hit it, boys, and there they go. So starting out, for any beginners in here, it should be that easy. You sit down, you touch one button, pick a genre of music you want to play, and go. We'll move a little bit more deeply into that. Some people say, oh, that's way too fast. I can't use it. Can't use that rhythm. It's too fast. Well, no, you are the conductor, right? What buttons would I press to speed up or slow down?
Tempo.
Tempo. You guys are great. Tempo. There's an up arrow and a down arrow. Which one do you think slows them down?
Down.
Down arrow. Ding, ding, ding. That's fun. You know what? You'd be surprised. I've asked questions like that before, and then I get... So yes, down arrow slows your band down. Up arrow on the tempo speeds them up, and it's right here in the center. So it's super easy to use. Let me do a couple things here. I got to make somebody else my co-host as well, because I see Jerome's in here now. That'll help me out for later, just in case. All right, so let's move a step forward here. Say you want to play a type of music, and you don't want all those band members playing. Instead of hiring a full orchestra or full band in this case of the Easy series, I can go by performer. Let's talk about that, and I'll talk about a couple other things if you don't have that. But so a lot of the Easy series instruments, which quite a lot of you have in here, have these performer buttons. The first one is usually on automatically. It just gives you a full band sound no matter what style of music you have. And I think Joe talked a little bit about these yesterday as well. But just as an example, the kind of practical reasons you might use these is maybe you hear a song on the radio and you love it, and it doesn't have all that stuff. You don't hear saxophones and drums and trombones. It's just a piano. Maybe it's just a song with somebody singing to a piano. that's what this is like doing is rather than hire a full band of people, all I have to do is touch whatever type of music I want. So let's say I'm going to play a waltz or a 3/4 time song. I'm going to touch the button that says 3/4 time or waltz. Yes, I saw your lips moving. It's okay. So right when I touch that, all I do is I turn on that type of music, and then I hire my pianist performer. It's like telling the rest of the band, don't come in today. I just want this person. So you're just hiring the piano player. So let me show you what that's like, and listen for it. All you're gonna hear is just piano. So
Hey,
the
Sean,
reason
I
that's
have a question.
okay, hang on just a second. So the reason that's kind of cool is if you don't want to hire the whole band, just hire a piano player, and it's like going to a lounge, and you can even lay on the piano and sing to it, and it's really nice. Linda, did you have a question?
Yes, well, see, I don't have an Easy 10. I have a just Freedom 3.
That's fine. That
And the
doesn't
Freedom
have that
3,
pianist option. All you need to do is turn down your, I think it's called the style button.
mm-hmm.
Or not style.
Oh. Well, the other side is where I have, see, I don't have any of those buttons where you say piano, where you're on those 3 buttons there.
Yeah, that one doesn't have the different performers
Mhm.
like that. So you just pick different rhythms to choose from. What the, did you say Discovery or Freedom?
I have the Freedom 3.
Yeah, so the Freedom 3, when you just touch a rhythm style, and I'll get into this in a second, but the rhythms,
Okay.
when you touch the rhythm style, whatever type of music or genre you want,
It'll show up on the other
two.
side that it's the piano.
You'll get 2 of them on the screen, and then you have another button on the panel that says Styles 2, which kind of gives you a second page of them. And some of them on there do say piano, like 2-beat piano,
Okay, so that's what
and they're more piano based. If you want to take the other instruments out or the drums, there's a drum button in the middle. It says drum volume. Here, let's see if I can use this.
Okay.
Other
I just want to make sure I wanted to see what the differences was with the buttons. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But if you're using something like that and you don't want all those drums and things like that in there, you should have a button like this toward the center. Sorry, the
Right.
lighting's not great, but it says volume, and above it, it's hard to see, but there's a picture of a drum set.
Right.
And there we go. I can kind of get it. There's a
Yes,
picture of a
it's
drum
like
set. So if you take that out, it'll kind of thin out your band. Throw that back up there. Change to this.
Okay.
Ooh, look, you get a behind-the-scenes look there. All right. So
Okay.
yeah, you can just modify it manually. Just turn that button down, and it's like doing the same thing.
Good thing. Okay. Thank
And then for some styles of music, especially if you're on, like I said, the Easy series or something like that, you have another button there. I'll just explain that. It says guitarist, if you have that. And all that is if you want to hire not the full band, but just a guitar player, you can do that as well. So if I want to do something like country music, you'd pick the genre first, country music, and then I can touch the guitarist button. And on the Freedom 3, you have a couple really, really good guitar country options as well. They're listed in the styles on the screen. And I think Joe probably talked a little bit about the screen too, didn't he? A little bit, yeah. So here's what if I hire a guitarist, this is what that sounds like. Now here's what's cool is I could still add the rest of the band, just like I said you can take it out. If I go up or down on that drum volume, you hear the rest of them come in. So I'm starting off pretty simple, so that's as easy as it gets. Pick a genre of music, and then pick who you want to perform it with. Because you're the singer, you're the one playing the melody, doing the singing and the soloing, and you have your backing band do those chords and the rhythm. So some other options, some people say, oh, well, I want to play that type of music, but I want it to sound even better. Well, this is really cool. You also have another option in a lot of these instruments, and you kind of got to look for them. Look for people's names or the kind of name of a song type thing. Those are called signature styles. A lot of these instruments have something called that. You can write it down if you want. They're called signature styles, and what they are is they're not just any old country or any old disco. You get a signature style is a style of music based on an original arrangement. So if you want to write that down, you can. Style based on an original arrangement. So on some of these, and actually I believe on most of them, there's a rhythm in the ballad button. I believe it's in that one. It's called, on this instrument here, it's called Wonderful World. And you can look at the screen and it'll say that. Oop. There we go. You can look at the screen and it'll say Wonderful World. So what happens is I get a rhythm, not just for any old ballad, but to play the song, What a Wonderful World. And if I want to, I don't have to play that song. I can play something else. But what I'm hiring for my orchestra is Louis Armstrong's original band. It sounds like this. Alright, so you can kind of hear, you get exactly that arrangement for that song. You could hear the background kind of playing in between what I was doing, and it just sounds fantastic. But what's nice is you can take and say, I like that band, I like Louis Armstrong's band, but I want to play a different song. And you can do that just the same way. You could do things like this. So that was the same style. So it just sounds completely different because you played a different song. But you can still hire that band. Isn't that lucky? Any questions on anything I've talked about so far? So far it's rather simple. Any questions or comments, concerns? Cool. I'll move on. Speaking of hiring an orchestra, the other solution is if you don't know which one of these orchestras to hire, Most of you, not all of you, but some of you have a feature called Song Setup, right? This is one of my favorite features because if I don't know what to press, what style of music it is, I can hire an agent. That's how I like to put it. I'm hiring an agent to do it for me. I just say, hey, agent, I want to play this certain song. What do I do? And they do it for me. So if I go to the song setup, let's just go up to one called Alley Cat Song. You heard of that one? Well, it starts with an A, so it's easy enough to find because it's in alphabetical order. So I just choose Alley Cat Song, and my agent just set up the whole instrument, hired an orchestra for me, told them what tempo to play at. All I got to do is put the music in front of me and play. So here's Alley Cat Song without any setup work by me whatsoever. Isn't that cute? It even hired a cat. I don't think it had to pay it, but it hired a cat for me anyway. So what's nice is it does a lot of tricks like that. It'll put something on the top, and if you have a split on your keyboard, some of those instruments have that. If you play it on the lower right side, you get two instruments. You get one that they put here automatically, and then another that they put here automatically. So you don't have to do any of the grunt work or anything like that. Now, when Joe taught his class, did he talk at all about setups or the word setups or preset or anything like that? Okay, I'll get to that in a second. But this is the last resort here. What I do is when I'm trying to find an orchestra to play with or a rhythm, this has helped a lot of people even though it seems just simple, you know. If you put a song in front of you and you don't know what rhythm to use or how to do it, first thing I do is I listen to the song either on my phone or you all obviously have a device of some sort or you wouldn't be on here, either a computer or a phone or a tablet or things like that. You have the capability, you can just type in a song title and listen to it. That's the best way to start. You know, find something you like, listen to it, and then go to your instrument and say, all right, what's going to work for me? And start with, like I said before, the genre or style of music with these blue buttons first. And if you still don't know what to do, maybe you're playing, let's see, a polka. You know, this instrument here, as I kind of showed you, the buttons, none of those say polka. So what I can do is trial by error. This is my favorite thing to do because it's easy. I don't have to memorize anything or play anything. All I do is I touch a style, let's say ballad, touch a chord, any chord, and just listen. And then I'll say, no, that wasn't a polka. Then I go to pop, for example. Just touch it, press any chord, hit the stop button, and then say, nope, that didn't work either. Go to the next one. And you can do that. And if you have more information on your screen, as Joe talked about as well, it'll give you another clue. But this is if you have that. On some of them, like if I touch that mix button, that's just a mix of different genres. How do I know if it's going to be a polka? Well, first I can try it by doing what I just said, or I can also look at the screen, and on this one it says Aloha. And I don't think that's going to give me a polka, but who knows? Maybe I'll try it anyway. But it sounds like this. I heard some birds in there. But that gives me a nice Hawaiian rhythm. That's cool. But where's a polka? If I touch, let's try this one, traditional. On the screen it says mark slash polka. Cool. And then I can try it, just test it out. Hit the stop button and go from there. You found it. So when you find something that kind of works, stick with it. Then your next step is to tell your band members, okay, do I want to go faster or do I want to go slower? Or do I want less of something, more of something else, as we might have talked about or Joe might have talked about, things like the genie or the drum volume. If you don't want as much drums in there, you can turn them up or down. So that's kind of just the way I try to find different rhythms to use, because we get that question so often where it's like, I found this song, tell me what to do. But you don't have us just sitting at your house all the time, right? So you kind of have to have some idea of where to go from there. Just like I said, trial by error works for me. You'll never guess, when I played this morning, or I guess early afternoon, I played a song called The Lonely Shepherd with a pan flute and stuff like that, and it was really pretty. But the background rhythm I used, you would not expect. I used a country rhythm called Garth's Friends, which is just, it's based on Garth Brooks's sound, which sounded nothing like what I played. But what I did is I picked a rhythm that I liked. I took out some of the stuff, because you can kind of play with the, bass and the drums and things like that, and take some members out, put some in, and I just slowed it way down, because it was actually normally a fast rhythm. I just took half the tempo away. So you can kind of get creative with that as well. With any of these rhythms you pick, you can make them sound different based on what you want to hear out of them. Okay? Now, another way to do that, let me just check to see if there are any questions before I get too into this next topic. Any questions at all? Any answers? Jerome, did you have a question?
No, I did not. You're doing such a great job. I just sort of grew up to be just like you.
Oh, thanks. You don't have, like I said to Robert, you don't have to grow up very tall. That's for sure. But I'll move on to the next part. This is kind of cool. This is for if you have what are called setups or presets. You all have at least one or two, no matter what instrument you have. This is so cool. I love how easy these are, because I can't tell you how many people come into our store here. I'm in Mesa, Arizona, and they'll come in and say, "Oh, I've got a keyboard, but I can't use it, so I'm not going to learn music." And I say, "Well, learn it on these. They're easier." And because keyboards, you're used to touching and punching in codes and all this. There's so much button pressing to it where it kind of makes people unexcited, and it kind of hinders their performance, where they can't play what they want to play because they have to do so much button pressing and setup work. What's great about this is, as you might have noticed while I've been playing, when I touch any sort of orchestra button or any style, it automatically this whole time has been giving me a great sound to play with on the top and or bottom if you have a lower keyboard there, or upper keyboard. It'll give me a sound automatically. That's called a style setup or rhythm preset on some instruments. It means the same thing. Let me grab this little baby camera over here, zoom in for you. But it looks like this. On a lot of these instruments, it says style setup. And on some instruments, it's called rhythm preset. And they do the same thing. As long as this button is on, it's always going to give you a good sound to correspond with your style. So that's why it's called style setup. When you pick a style, it'll set up. So super, super easy. It's always on as a default. So it'll give you a good sound on the top here, and then on the bottom right here. Let me switch cameras here again. Okay, so what's great is it always give you a good sound on the top and bottom. Moving a step forward, what it does is if you have any of these buttons in the middle, I see quite a few of you who do have something like an Easy 10 or maybe an Odyssey or something like that. or Regency. That's another great one. You have what are called setups or presets in the center that just add on to that. So rather than just having one on the top, one on the bottom, you get another one on the top and bottom, and another one on the top and the bottom. So it just gives you more choices for your right hand sound, so your melody sound. And this is cool because we've been talking about, hiring an orchestra. You're the band leader and performer. So what's kind of cool is what this does is it gives you different instruments to sing with or play with. Maybe you've seen an orchestra or a band play live, and you see the conductor in the front, and then he goes like this, toward somebody in the back. He kind of tells him to stand up, and then you see the guy in the back stand up and start playing his instrument. That's what you're doing with these buttons. You're picking out different instruments to play. So let me just show you kind of an example of how this works. I'm just going to go through. I've got numbers 1 through 5, so that means 5 extra sounds I can play around with. And they're going to be set up to go with whatever I choose here, whatever style of music. So let me do that. Let's do Broadway music. So I'm going to play a big Broadway opener type sound, and I'm going to keep punching through these different numbers here. And you'll hear somebody else stand up and start playing, but I'm doing the same thing with my right hand and the left hand. I'm just picking somebody else to play it. And just as a side note, this is kind of cool too, is if you have this feature, listen to the background as well, because the background musicians will adjust to whatever's coming forward. So if I'm touching number 2, for example, and I've got a flute coming up, the band will kind of maybe quiet down so we can hear the flute better. So it's just all automatic. So here's Broadway opener. I'm just going to play a medley of a couple songs for you. Hopefully you recognize them. Let's change to this. Here we go. Right, so that's just keeping it bare bones simple. You don't have to think. You just touch a number 1 through 5, and it gives you a good sound. And if you notice, like I said, the background even kind of adjusts a little bit too. So that's just a way to make your orchestra work for you. You hired them. You're hiring all these different musicians, and obviously a lot of you have different instruments on here. Some of you have older ones, newer ones, smaller ones, medium-sized ones. And with everyone, you just get more choices, more orchestras to choose from, and more customizing options. So you get more chances to tell people to sit down and stand up is all. You get a lot of different right-hand sounds and left-hand sounds. Any questions on anything I've talked about? Like I said, I'm trying to keep it simple, so it's just something you can. Normally, I say you go home and do it, but you're already home, so you could just do it anytime.
Yeah.
Hal, go ahead. You'll have to unmute if it's not already.
On the Easy 10, which
Uh-huh.
I have,
Great.
if you in the song setup, if you don't like what the what the virtual orchestra has picked for you, are you, if there's something that, another setup that you've used for another song, but you like what from that other song, then you're not locked in to what. Am I correct that you're not locked up?
Yeah, I mean, you're always in charge. Like I said, you're the band leader. So, and just to answer it in kind of short, just a little story. I have a twin sister. You might not know, but I have a twin sister. She's a nurse, and sometimes she'll get called in or paged into one of the rooms at the hospital, and she goes in, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And they say, "It hurts when I do this. It hurts." And what do you think she says?
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Same with this kind of thing. Well, for sure, if you're doing something that hurts, don't do it. But also, if there's something you don't like, don't use it. That's okay. So if there's a song setup that comes up and, it's not the way you would want it, maybe it's the way they thought people would want it, or maybe other people want it, but you're unique. You're special. You like it a certain way, and that's okay. I'm like that with several song setups. I might be like, I want to do it my way, I'm picky too, so that's an easy choice. If you don't like it, don't do it. If you like the song set up for a different song, you can play it with something else too if you want. Right. I do that a lot. There's a song set up for let's see. Actually, there's one for Aloha Oi. Oi Vey. There's one for Aloha Oi Vey in here. And when I click on that, it gives me a nice Hawaiian style, but I don't like to play that song. I like to play Can't Help Falling in Love. Because I like to make it sound more like the movie, Blue Hawaii. And it sounds like this. So that wasn't even for that song. That was Can't Help Falling in Love, but I really like the way it's set up for Aloha Oi. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
So, perfect. Sorry, I answered that longer than I meant to, but just wanted to give you guys some ideas of some things you can do as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm gonna move over to Dennis. What you got, Dennis?
So if you turn the style setup button off, what happens as opposed to leaving it on?
Actually, the whole instrument explodes, so don't do that. No, I'm just joking. No, if you turn it off, all that's going to do is it's not going to set up something on the top and bottom. So let me reset this instrument here. Oh, and I have to turn it down because I made it really loud. Oh, there we go. Okay. But what it'll do is it'll just keep whatever sounds are here. So I'm going to turn it off right now. And I have strings here and a piano here. If I change it and put on a rhythm now, say country music, it didn't change my top keyword. It's still just strings. And as well as if you have extra setup buttons here, it'll give you not something that goes with the rhythm, but it'll give you what are called general setups, just general sounds that you can general sounds that you can use with anything. So it gives you things like pianos or Spanish guitar and flutes. So it just kind of gives you just general sounds in these rather than the style setup sounds.
Gotcha.
Does that work?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Any more questions? Because I have to wrap up because we have a concert to go to soon. right? So if there aren't any other questions, I will say, let me see if I can pull up that email again to kind of show you what it looks like. You guys should know it by now because you did it yesterday too. But we're going to have a finale concert from, actually, Joe Fontesha is going to be playing this, and it's going to be incredible. We got something really, 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 really nice worked up, so don't miss it. But go into that last email you got, the one where it has your workshops that you clicked on to get to this, and just go to the bottom, and it'll say click here to enter the concert. Okie dokie. So thanks for your attention. I hope you got something out of it today and something you can play around with and kept it simple enough to just work away at it right now. Well, after the concert. Okay. So have a good rest of your day, everybody, and thank you for attending. We'll see
Thank you very much, Sean.
You're welcome. See you at the finale.
you. See you.
I think it's in 15 minutes, 10 minutes.
Thank you, Sean.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
15 minutes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sayonara. Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.